Hello and welcome back to the Boro Women podcast, a podcast that delves deep into the Middlesbrough Women dressing room and chats to those playing, managing or working within Middlesbrough Women Football Club. Today's guest is guest number 5, and it's a summer signing that has featured in every minute of Boro's season so far this campaign, and someone I've been absolutely dying to get onto one of these podcasts. But without further ado, welcome to the show, Emily Cassidy, or Cass as we know you. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Are you?
Getting by. We had a bit of a catch up, sort of just off camera there, and I think it is what it is. I think is what we said, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot we can do. It's out of our control, sort of thing. So it's just sort of you got to plod on with it, haven't you?
Yeah, not much choice, unfortunately. But I think we'll start with current news. We'll do a full circle. We'll circle back around to we'll start the current, and then we'll circle all the way back around to your past, and we'll come back around to the future. We'll go on a journey, basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So current news, we're currently in a week 1, I think, of a 4-week lockdown break from football. Tiers 1 and Tiers 2 of the women's pyramid have continued on. The men's football's continued on, whilst we're pretty much barred from training, aren't we? I think. How did you feel when you got the news last week?
I was a bit devastated, to be honest with you, especially I think we're winning last week against Loughborough. It did give us a bit of a lift and a bit of an oomph going into, I think we had Sheffield as well, who's struggling.
Yeah.
And, I think everyone in our dressing room will have had the confidence that we would have beat them. I don't think we really had any doubts within ourselves. So yeah, I think on that front it was a little bit disappointing. But there's not a lot we can do, is there? So,
were you surprised that they kept Tier 1 and Tier 2 open, but then Tier 3 was so locked down in terms of you're doing home training at the moment and stuff like that, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah. So, to be honest, I wasn't shocked at all. I expected it. To be honest with you, I was a little bit shocked that the Women's Championship stayed. I didn't have any doubts about the Women's Super League, but I didn't think we would have continued playing just for the sheer fact that we're not elite and I don't know if any clubs in our league do, but we don't get paid enough. It's not our full-time job at the end of the day, so I'm not shocked, to be honest with you. In terms of training, yeah, the lads, the S&C guys, have been putting some stuff together for us. I think we've had to do a 1.2k run so far.
Yeah, seen that.
Yeah, and then Greg and the other guys have been just setting stuff up for us, and we've just had things to do throughout the week, really.
And I suppose the one benefit of this, which at the minute we think is a 4-week lockdown, hopefully it stays like that. But when we had lockdown last time, it kind of sprung up on us out of nowhere. So there was no equipment for the girls to take home. There was no real idea of what we could do within the house. Has it kind of benefited you that you've sort of been there before and you've been given equipment, you sort of know how to adapt to it in a way?
Yeah, I'd say it has. Obviously, the first time around, it was like a waiting game, wasn't it? We didn't have an official start date. It was just sort of waiting for it, and I think it was the 20th of September. Our start date.
Yeah,
and
it
then,
was.
Right, now we can start kicking on. But yeah, it has been probably a little bit better. So you sort of counting down the weeks or the days, sort of thing. But Steph and the other coaching staff have been brilliant. They've provided us with stuff like cones, bands to do stuff. They even said if we haven't got a football, we can take a football home. So yeah, just sort of it helps a little bit as well because if you're not working and you're furloughed, a lot of the girls can just go around the park and just kick the football around, that sort of thing.
And we're all hoping it is going to be 4 weeks. The truth is, we don't know. Obviously, we had what sounded like a positive with some sort of vaccine today, but I'm no scientist, so I'm not going to start trying to pick that apart or trying to understand it. If I'm honest, it just sounds good. If it is just 4 weeks off, does that mean that when you're coming back, it's going to feel like a pre-season level of fitness? Do you think you're going to need a bit more time realistically? Do you think the FA need to give you a little bit more time, or can you realistically, because you've been playing for a good 4 or 5 months and having 4 weeks off, kind of just kickstart and sort of catch up pretty fast?
Personally, I don't think we will. I mean, for them to say that we've got 4 weeks off and then for the next following Sunday or whenever it is, for them to expect us to go and play 90 minutes, I think that's unrealistic. We're not elite. It's not our full-time job, so we're not out all day exercising, sort of thing. A lot of us have to go to work. But personally, I don't think it'll last for 4 weeks. I think it'll last longer. And then even if it does just last for the 4 weeks, we've only got one game. I think we've got West Brom.
Yeah, just one game it is at the moment because the second half of the fixtures haven't been confirmed. Yeah.
So I don't think it'll happen because I think the FA's got to give us like at least a couple of times to get up to match fitness at least.
And
But
how long does it take you to get back into match fitness? Because I mean, like you said before, it's not your full-time job, but at the same time, you're certainly more of an athlete than I am. So at what point I mean, if you're out for say 2 weeks, do you feel it when you're out for 2 weeks, if you haven't played for 2 weeks and then come back? So is a month like quite a big chunk of time to lose match fitness then?
yeah, definitely I'd say so. I mean, at Boro, we're probably quite lucky because we've got the S&C team and the boys who do so much for us in terms of fitness, and they really know the stuff, to be honest. So probably for us, not as much as long as we're following what they're doing, that sort of thing. But it does. It's weird how much of an impact it actually has on your body. Um, I personally think if I went back after 4 weeks and I'd be thrown straight into a game, I don't think I'd last 90 minutes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teams across the division have sort of echoed that or whispered it, shall we say, privately on Twitter, with occasional comments, shall we say, and I think people have to probably understand that. But from a fan's perspective, which is what I am technically, we all are hoping to be back in 4 weeks, but I think realistically it might be a little bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be playing until after Christmas now.
Yeah, probably. We spent an awful lot of time in sort of preseason, getting back to that sort of peak fitness. We had quite a long preseason as it was. And before we go back into your past, what is it you're actually doing to keep fit during sort of preseason? What tasks have you been given? You mentioned the 1.2K, but have you been set tasks every week? Is it important to keep that fun as well?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think Greg and the guys try and mix things up to try and keep things fresh and just sort of to not sort of like the same thing that you're doing all the time where you think, oh, I don't want to do this. So at the moment they give us a 1.2K. Greg set us some strength and conditioning stuff today, which like included using stuff at home, that sort of thing. And then I think we've got something else to do on Thursday. So it's mainly just he set us stuff when we should be training, which to be fair everyone should be free, so you should really be able to do it. So they have worked it around our schedule to try and help us as much as possible. I think Sunday we've got to do a run. We've got to do like 8K or something. I'm not sure.
Moved.
Something
Good
like
luck.
that. I know. Thank you. So something like that. But yeah, that's the sort of stuff that's setting us. Just sort of stuff that relates to a game.
And away from sort of just the fitness side of things, we're a really close-knit team. Like, I think there's no doubt about that. I've noticed how close-knit we are this season. Like, I'm missing you all, which I'll openly admit. How are the girls keeping in touch at the moment?
Just sort of through WhatsApp, that sort of thing. We have a WhatsApp group, so we all sort of speak to each other, keep in touch, that sort of thing. We just text each other, see how we're getting on, asking each other about the sort of stuff we're doing with the running and that all the lads are setting us.
And does that sort of help having quite a close knit group of people that, like, I suppose you can rely on for support? Because, as I think many people have mentioned, there is a mental health element to a lockdown where when you're stuck indoors, sometimes you do need to sort of rely on people. Is it handy to have that backdrop of such a strong group of people and management team?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Steph and Chris are easy to talk to. You can always drop them a text or anything like if you're ever feeling like you need to speak to someone. Um, I can always drop like I'm close to the likes of like Tyler and Jazz and them. If I ever needed anything or see if I wanted to do the run with them, I'm sure I could drop them a text and go and do it with them. But yeah, it does really help. Obviously, it's a tough time at the moment, so having like such a close knit team like what we do have, I'm sure it does benefit a lot of us.
Perfect. Away from lockdown, then, and we'll go in that circle that I promised we would go into. I know a little bit about your background, but obviously the listeners don't. From present stuff, we're going to go all the way back to the end. So let's circle to the early beginnings. Where did your love of football begin?
Oh God, through my dad and my brothers, I'd say. You know what? Before I started playing football, I did dance, and I hated it. I hated every minute of it, I think. And then I was just always like getting on at my dad, like, Dad, I want to play football. Dad, I want to play football. So I used to always go around the park with him and my three brothers and watch them play. And I just always wanted to be involved, I think. So I think I was at the age of 7 when I started playing. My dad just got me signed up to a local Saturday team. and I actually wanted to play in goal. Believe it or not. I know my height, God. So yeah, but then I just started playing outfield, and I eventually got better, and that's where I loved it from.
So did you, obviously you said you watched your brothers and stuff like that, but truth be told, you're better than your brothers, I would imagine then.
Yeah, my dad always tells me I'm technically better, but one of my brothers is quite good at football. Actually, he plays Northern League, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
Quite a high standard. But yeah, well, over my brothers, probably my dad where I got it from, to be honest.
So were you taking the football games when you were young then?
Yeah, I went to the Sunderland games now and again. I used to go watch my dad play, actually. So my dad's quite good at football. He still plays over 40s football.
Oh, right, okay.
He's 53 now. Like he doesn't shift like he used to, but still good to go watch him. Yeah, so probably going to watch my dad and like my brothers and stuff like that.
So I think it's probably a little bit different to little girls growing up now because of the WSL and the fact that, that there's female footballers that are now household names. It maybe wasn't so much the case when me and you were younger, I guess, but was there any footballers, female or male, that you looked up to when you were growing up?
Yeah, there was. I mean, there wasn't that many, but when I was at Sunderland, when I was like 11, like the likes of Lucy Bronze and Jordan Nobbs, and then they were in the under-16s. And when I was moving up sort of the age groups in Sunderland, I started to watch the Sunderland women play. Mm-hmm. So it was just like going to watch the likes of them and just watching them progress the game and obviously become the footballers that they are today, which is some of the best in the world. Them sort of female players, I would say. In terms of male, we've got Kevin Phillips.
I agree with that. Boro fans listening to this are going to hate this, but obviously we're both Sunderland, so we apologise in advance. But
it's just him and Niall Quinn, just Sunderland legends. I loved watching Ruud van Nistelrooy as well.
Yeah,
he was unbelievable as well.
Terrific striker. But I mean, I suppose I didn't really think about that. You coming through Sunderland. Obviously, people who don't know, you started at Sunderland, and a couple of age groups above you would have been the likes of Jordan Nobbs. Beth Mead would have been a couple of years above from you, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, so I never actually, I think I played against Beth Mead when I was at Sunderland. She was at Middlesbrough. And then I went to Teesside one year when Sunderland lost the licence to be a centre of excellence, which it was at the time. And that's when she left to go to Sunderland, I think, the season after, or something like that.
That is true, actually. I do know that, yeah. I know that because I did that in an interview. That's how I know that. So there's a subtle hint for my own podcast, a subtle promotional tweet. When you were at the Sunderland Academy, though, outside of obviously players that you looked up to and stuff like that, I think a few people are probably starting to click on but don't really fully know. But you've known Tyler a long, long time. So obviously that's because of the Sunderland Academy days, I would imagine. But how long have you actually known Tyler and how close have you been with her for how long?
How long have I known her? I think the first time I met Tyler, I probably played against her when I was a kid, to be fair, but I probably just can't remember it. I think I met Tyler when I played at County. So the two of us played at Durham County together. I think I was 14 and she was 15. So I've known her about 10 years, yeah.
And then I've seen a photo of you the other day.
Oh, yeah, I think she sent it to me, actually, yeah. Oh, God, we look awful, don't we?
You got a cracking fringe.
Yeah, no. Tyler with a bright headband on.
Yeah. She's always had the headbands, but she's changed to blue, hasn't she, in recent years? So
changed the colour.
With Tyler, I think we can say this now that she's not in the room, but she's had a phenomenal season last season. Despite it being a difficult start, in reality, she's had a great start again. And anyone who's seen a goal from the Loughborough game, that's kind of something she's doing on the regular. As someone who's almost grew up with her to an extent, or more so than most of the Boro team, how good can Tyler be? Because I still feel like there's a way to go, despite the fact that she's banging on form.
Yeah, I mean, on her day, she's unplayable.
Yeah.
Like, when every time she steps on that pitch, I just think she's got the better of this fullback. You know, some of them, you can see that they're scared of her because they just don't know what to do with her. They don't know how to deal with her. Ever since I've played with her with her kids, she's always been just driven and wanting to be the best sort of thing, which it's nice to see because she's such a lovely girl as well. Like, I can't fault her. But yeah, she's just brilliant. Like, when the ball fell to her in the game against Loughborough, it's just like you don't want to fault anyone else. like that's it. But yeah, she's just brilliant. Like she's just an all round good player.
How many times have you watched that goal back?
Oh, I've watched it quite a few. I've probably got the most views on Twitter for it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I just keep sitting back being like, just replaying it. Just because I knew the lockdown was incoming, I was like, I'll just replay this all Sunday because obviously you didn't join me in this, but I was the only one sinking a couple of cans of alcohol on the way back from the train. But as a media man, I'm allowed that. I don't get wrong for that, which is quite good. I think that got about 100 views on the way back down. But did you know Ollie as well then? Because obviously Ollie was at the Sunderland Academy. Was she a similar age group to you or slightly younger, slightly older?
So Ollie is a couple of years above me, I think. She was when we were at Sunderland, she was 2 years above me, so I never actually played with her. But yeah, she was always there, and like she was always like one of the better players. Because you knew like the likes of Claire Robinson, them always were like keeping an eye on her, that sort of thing. But yeah, she was there, but I never played with her.
Right. So your first kind of interaction with Ollie was at Boro, essentially, then?
Yeah, pretty much. I think she was at Sunderland when I moved to the reserves, and then I left because I went to uni.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, pretty much. That's the only time I've like properly played with Ollie.
You mentioned there about going to uni. I'm assuming, I actually don't know the answer to this, but I'm assuming that's where the move to Leeds came in when you moved to unis.
No. So when I first moved to uni, I signed for Bradford. They were in the same league as what Boro are now, but obviously they relegated a couple of seasons ago. So yeah, I was at Bradford for one season, and then they had a lot of issues within the club in terms of management. They're just basically doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. So when I left Bradford, I went to Leeds. I played for Leeds for 2 years. Just because it was a nice club to be at. The girls there were like so lovely. I generally can't fault them in terms of that. They made me feel so welcome from the minute I got there. And to be honest with you, I do have some best friends at Leeds. Like I'll happily say that. And it did sort of like it was a mixture of emotions when I left because I loved the club, but I wanted to play a bit of standard football. I just think Leeds just needs a bit better management.
Yeah.
And then I think it will go places, that club.
I was going to say with Leeds, it's like, and I can only really tell from Twitter interactions, Twitter conversations or whatnot, or from what you tell me, but you do seem really, really close with the girls from Leeds. And obviously I write with one of them, with Megan, who seems absolutely lovely as well. But like how important was your 2 years at Leeds for not just your progression as a player, but also your progression as a person then?
Oh, definitely. Was big part of my life. I loved every minute of it, and I probably became more confident and turned back into sort of the player that I was when I was a little bit younger. In terms of my progression as a person, I played with two of my best friends there, and I just loved every single minute of it. I loved going to training. I loved playing games just because of the group that they were. It didn't matter if we lost on the Sunday because I was playing with probably like 8, 9 best friends on the pitch. So yeah, it is a lovely club. I can't fault that club.
Do you know when it comes to the Leeds game that we played in pre-season then, how weird was that for you?
Oh, it was so weird. It was just like when I was stood there and I was just looking at them all and I was like, I was like, I've got the wrong strip on. And then Becca Hunt, one of the girls who plays for them, she was like waving at me and that sort of thing. She was like, "Oh, I don't like this." I was like, "You're on the wrong team." I was like, "Oh, it did make me a little bit sad, but I definitely made the right move to come to Boro."
Do you know when it comes to when you play against your former clubs, you always see it that someone gives you a boot just to let them know that you're not friends during that 90 minutes. Was any of the players that give you a little bit of a kick in the first 10 or what?
Oh yeah, actually, Frenchie, one of the girls who plays for them, I turned her and she pulled my shirt back, and I was like, I think she might have ripped it actually. And you know what it was? It wasn't even my shirt; it was Foster's.
Foster's?
Yeah, I didn't have a shirt at the time, and I was like, oh my god, if she's ripped this shirt, I was like, it's not even mine; it's Foster's. And I don't even think I'd met Foster at this point because she hadn't really done pre-season because she'd been out injured, hadn't she?
Yeah, for a little while, yeah. Because you were wearing Foster's shirt for like the first 3 games or something, which I think would have been quite confusing if at that time fans were allowed in. But we've done that twice this season actually. But I'll let other people listening to this guess when the second time it happened because it is photo evidence somewhere.
I'm still blaming Steph and Chris for that one.
Yeah, it's easy to blame Steph and Chris when they're not here. That's what I do all the time. For Boro this season, I touched before in the intro, you've played every single minute of the season so far. I think probably every minute of pre-season, more or less, I think, actually. You've played predominantly, I think, in the league games as a centre-back. I think all of them as centre-back. But when you were at Leeds, you were like a 4, an 8 or a 10. So, honest question, what's your preferred position?
I think at the moment centre-back, because I enjoy it there. I think I sort of fell out of love of playing in midfield when I was in my last season of Leeds. But I played centre back at uni for a couple of seasons and I loved it. And I think that's where I sort of enjoyed it. And then when I come to Boro, I knew that they weren't the most strength and depth in centre half. So I was like, all right, well, this is my opportunity to sort of like show Steph and Chris what I can do and get a starting shirt. And I think I've done that. Hopefully. But yeah, I don't mind playing in midfield because I like getting stuck in sort of thing. But I'd say probably centre half now.
Is there a difference in the positions? Because in the way that you play, like, because I've obviously seen you in the 4 and I've seen you in centre half, and you do like pass it out from the back a lot. That's like a big part of your game. But is there what are the main differences between the two positions?
Well, obviously, if you're playing centre half, you can't go bombing up the pitch like a midfielder can. I wouldn't say it depends on, as a whole midfielder, there's probably isn't a lot. Obviously, your duties is more to defend. I'd probably say more of a whole midfielder. I think you've probably got to have a bit more passing ability, passing range, that sort of thing. I probably would say I'm a bit more like a ball playing centre half. I like to
Yeah.
pass the ball, that sort of thing. If not possible, I'd rather not go long. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's that many differences, to be honest with you.
In terms of this season, I think I touched on it before. It's been frustrating for, well, multiple reasons, really. But we're coming off the back of a win. But before I sort of go on to that, with some of the performances not always matching the results, which I think is the best way I can put it, what have you sort of made of the season so far, 8 games in?
It's been a bit of a mixed emotions, to be honest with you. I think we had a really good start. We were playing some fantastic football, but we just couldn't get the result. We just couldn't sort of put the ball in the back of the net. But apart from Loughborough, we got the result, but we didn't play that well. And then a couple of weeks before that, we haven't been playing very well, which was a bit disheartening because of all that hard work we've sort of put in. It was like we'd sort of just wasted it. But even though we haven't won that many games, I have loved every minute of it. I've enjoyed playing with the other 10 girls on the pitch, and we are playing some good football. It's just we just sort of need to kickstart and push on and start getting the win.
I think there's been 2 performances this season, which have been both 2 wins. And I could pinpoint multiple times we played free-flowing football and looked lovely and not got the result. And yet the Burnley game, the Loughborough game, was all about grit and determination. So as much as we all played nice football and there's games where you think the performance has been great, the character's starting to come as well, isn't it? We are starting to grind out results when we really need them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what it's about at the end of the day. There's no point playing pretty football and not winning, is there?
No.
So when we beat Loughborough, we didn't play well. I don't think we really cared about the performance because at the end of the day, we needed 3 points to start moving up the table. So
yeah, that's definitely how it felt. In terms of the players you came up against, we've came up against some really good players this year, as much as we've actually performed quite well on the pitch in almost all the games. But who's been your toughest opponent you've came up against this far?
oh god, I think Fylde were quite tough that first half. I
Yeah.
think we did really well to defend and keep them out that first half. I think Derby, just the way that they just rotated and moved the ball, I just don't think we really clicked onto it at all, which was frustrating. But other than that, I think we've dealt well with quite a lot of the other teams. I mean, I think we've got a really good team. We just unfortunately haven't won that many games. I think we've been unlucky.
On our team, sort of moving away from your toughest opponent, when you come into a brand new club, you're getting used to like new players, you see them in training all the time. Sometimes fans just see them sporadically in games or just see highlights as it was at the start of the season. Is there any players in our current squad that maybe didn't take you by surprise, but like your first couple of training sessions and your first couple of games, you thought, I didn't realize like you were actually that good and how important they were to the team? Is there any players that have not so much took you by surprise, but you've been impressed with?
Probably Rosie, definitely. I'd heard good things about her because I know one of our best friends, Molly. I went to uni with her, and she was always ranting and raving about how good Rosie was, but I'd never actually seen her play. And honestly, she's unbelievable. She could play at a higher level, 100%.
Yeah, she's absolutely fab.
We are very lucky to have her.
If anyone's listening though and thinks about signing her, she's terrible. Drops clangers all the time. You don't want to sign her. If you're listening to this, she's terrible. We're just calling you bluff.
No one really shocked me, I wouldn't say, because I knew that Boro had a lot of quality. Obviously, we've got the likes of Bass, Tyler. I probably think if anyone shocked me, it's the younger ones. The likes of Dale, Alicia, Jazz. I think Jazz is absolutely brilliant. I wish she had more confidence because she doesn't realise how good she is.
Mm-hmm.
At Boro we have some really good youngsters. We do.
Yeah.
And I think they'll go far. They will.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you 100% on that. We touched on it a bit before about Tyler's goal. Slightly different question. Obviously, that was massive in terms of not just the win, but how the win came along. Like if you want to win a game, you want a confidence boost, that's it. But how big of a boost is that goal, despite the fact that we've got a month off? How important is having that in your mind throughout this month or however long we're off, knowing that going into it, we're going into the back of the next game on 3 points, regardless of when it is?
Oh, it's so important. If anything, it was a bit of relief because it was like, we've played well all these games, but we just haven't getting the result. And we finally get 3 points that we deserve after the way that we have played throughout the season. But yeah, it takes a bit of pressure off you as well. Obviously, I think we were third from bottom. I'm not sure if we still are.
Something like that, yeah. Fourth from bottom, I think now.
Fourth. It just takes a little bit of pressure off you and puts pressure on the teams below us. Obviously, our next game was meant to be Sheffield. So I think going into lockdown hasn't really done us any good because they will have seen our result against Loughborough and thought, I think Borough will beat us here. So, yeah, it does take a bit of pressure off you and just sort of let your mind relax a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Did it feel as well, like I said before, it wasn't just the 3 points, it was the way that the 3 points were won. When a moment like that happens as a player, because sometimes you do as a fan, but as a player, do you kind of feel like that's the moment that things start turning in your favour? And I know lockdowns kind of paused that, but when you get that kind of last minute, 93rd minute, I think it was, from 25 yards out, like outside of the boot, you suddenly start thinking, oh, hang on, someone's on our side here. Things might start turning, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I think we are a very unlucky team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we are.
We are. We have no luck whatsoever. But yeah, it does. It's sort of nice to finally think, something's actually gone for us, sort of thing.
Got a couple of Twitter questions for you, right? I can't promise that they're going to be good ones, but the first one was from Tat. Tat's always good for a question. He's got two, actually, but I'll give you the silly one first. Do you prefer a chicken or a pork parmo?
Definitely chicken. I'm not really a fan of pork, to be honest with you.
I thought you were going to say chicken. I felt chicken was like the norm answer, but I think apparently he's a pork man.
Oh, is he?
Apparently so.
I want to see what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I can't because obviously I'm veggie, but nonetheless, you can feed back the information. Let me know how it went. Oh. His other question probably requires a longer answer, I guess. But as you touched on before, the girls at this level aren't paid. Not just Boro, I think almost across the board in this league, it's very, very few or far between where someone has a full-time job or even part-time as part of this. It's, in a sense, voluntary in a way. But when it comes to the work-life balance, you've probably got something that's a bit more difficult than most people. I know what it can be like doing my normal job and doing this, and it's hard to balance. But when you're doing what you're doing, Tat asks, how difficult is that balance between a job and then obviously what's technically feels like a job, but it's technically a hobby as well? How difficult is that balance between football and your normal job?
Oh, it can be really difficult sometimes. I mean, it's just sort of the physical aspect of it. I mean, we do play at a high level, so obviously it's very physically demanding. We get a lot of like fitness stuff, and training's always got to be high intensity. So when we go into a game on a Sunday, we go into high intensity there. But yeah, it can be difficult at times. But obviously, we do it because we love football, don't we? So it's always sort of you finish work and you think, oh, I get to go to football now. So it's sort of that relief sort of thing. It takes your mind off work, that sort of thing. But yeah, it can be hard. I think especially for someone like me who sometimes works 6 days a week, or someone like Tyler who sort of has to base her work around football. But yeah, I mean, sort of the fact that we love going and football is our hobby. It's sort of like it's not as difficult decision
I
sort of
think
thing.
Tyler touched on it in the last podcast as well. I think when the environment is as, and I know it's an easy thing to say on an official podcast, but it genuinely is a fantastic environment. And I think we all, me included, and the staff members with the S&C guys and Ross and everyone involved, you kind of want to go there because it brightens your day because the environment is so good, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a lovely environment at Middlesbrough, and I think everyone will say that.
When it comes to balancing your work-life balance with going to the football, how much does it help that you have I know it sounds an easy thing to say on a podcast like this when it's official, but it is a lovely balance. Like I love going, like we all love going and hanging out with each other. When you have such a good environment, does that make it 10 times less the work?
Yeah, definitely, because you go in because you want to go. I mean, not everyone wants to go to work, do they? You just go. A lot of people just go for the money. But no, yeah, obviously it is a lovely environment at Middlesbrough. I think everyone would say that, and you get to go and see all your friends. So yeah, it makes it so much easier. It does when
Can't
you look.
knock it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you definitely can.
absolutely. I've got two more questions. The next one is a Twitter question, and I'll end on a final question there. This one's from a Tyler. It's from a Tyler, this one. Never heard of her. But she asks, who's your favourite teammate and why?
Oh God, she's just asking me this because she wants to say me to say that she's my favourite teammate, so Jazz gets annoyed. That's why she's asking it. She's not daft.
So who do you choose?
Yeah, I don't really have a favourite teammate.
Ooh,
Sorry, Tyler. I know you're
saved.
upset to say you. No, but we all get on really well. But I am closer to Jazz and Tyler. We car share. I can speak to them about anything. So I'd say Jazz and Tyler definitely. But obviously, I've knew Tyler for years. She's absolutely brilliant. I can't knock her, and she is funny now and again, I suppose.
She's hilarious. Tyler's like so funny. I don't think people quite realize. I think people see her as like the serious goal scoring like assassin. She's not. She's an absolute scream, isn't she? At the best of times.
Yeah, like I think I slightly offended her the other week. So we were just talking about being funny in the car, and I said, "Oh, Tyler, you're not funny, but you are funny," and and I think it slightly offended her.
I get where you're coming from, and it's definitely a compliment. Don't
Yeah.
worry, Tyler. Don't be offended. Finally, and a sort of last question, I guess. You can never predict the future, but what are your ambitions with Boro? How would you like the future to look? If you're looking back in 5 years, what would you want to see has happened at Middlesbrough for yourself and Cass? For Boro and Cass.
I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. 5 years, I'll be 29, so God, I might be retired by then. I don't know, just sort of pushing on, and I think my ambition is to at least finish in the top 3 of this league. To just sort of play every week, start every week, prove myself to Steph and Chris, and to just keep on enjoying my football. To be honest with you, this is a club that I see myself to probably finish my career at, or at least spend a lot of years here. So hopefully, yeah, that.
Awesome. Cass, good to catch up, mate. It's kept me entertained as always, as you always do. But thanks for coming on and giving me your time, your precious time.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.